Today I'm finally going to do a walk that I've wanted to do for nearly 20 years, ever since I moved to the area. I'm going to walk the Centenary Walk, Epping Forest, from end to end, from here in Manor Park, and we're going to go all the way through to Epping, following the Centenary Walk. Obviously I'm going to get lost, because I always do. But the thing with this walk today, slight twist, because today I'll be using this, the HyperShell, the world's first outdoor exoskeleton. And I am so excited about using this on a walk today. It's a 15-mile, 21-kilometer walk, and so a little bit of help won't go amiss, particularly as it's such a hot day. And however excited I am about using the HyperShell today, I'm not nearly as excited as the person that's helping me shoot this video today, my son Joseph, who's behind the camera there. So in terms of the walk, we're here in the corner of the forest, and initially this is the first section. We're just going to walk across Wanstead Flats over to Bushwood, and then we're going to go across Bushwood to the Green Man roundabout. So we're just going to turn on the HyperShell, and you could feel it engage. You could feel it as it engages, and there's various modes you can cycle through depending on what you're doing, the intensity of it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what difference it's going to make. It's 28 degrees today. Me being me, I've started at midday. So I want to say a massive thank you to HyperShell for reaching out and sponsoring this video and giving me the opportunity to walk with the world's first outdoor exoskeleton. And when they approached me, I didn't hesitate but to agree to do this, because I was like, it's unlike anything I could imagine. It's like something from science fiction, and it really works. It really works. It's uncanny. It's actually quite lightweight. It's only 1.5 kilos, and the batteries, well, you can get spare batteries, but one battery does 17.5 kilometers anyway. Most people aren't going to walk more than that in a day, but I've got two batteries. You can get a charging hub, so I think you can charge 4 batteries at a time. Batteries charge in about an hour and a half, so it's great. And this is actually now designed and aimed at everyday use. So obviously it's not just for people that go hill walking and mountaineers, it's for everyday walkers, hikers, ramblers, photographers, obviously adventurers. Yours truly, obviously that's what they were thinking. One of the things I was thinking of, well, some of you might be wondering why I was looking for something which would aid walking. And clearly, you know, I've had a couple of mobility issues in the past, as some of you will know. So I don't take my mobility for granted. And this isn't a medical aid. It's not aimed as a medical aid. I love walking with this so much. So the Centenary Walk was launched in 1978 on the centenary of the passing of the 1878 Epping Forest Act, which preserved Epping Forest for the people of London. So last week we were at the People's Palace at Alexandra Palace, and this week we are in the People's Forest. Joe is 19 and super fit, and me being significantly older than 19 and not super fit, I've got a huge advantage on this walk today. I'll let him have a go later on when I am 3 miles ahead.
That's part of the deal, man. I'll put it out now.
So the walk just takes this concrete path along the side So it's cutting through bushwood really, and then we'll actually walk along the road to the Green Man roundabout. It is interesting how much further ahead than Joe I am, just from wearing the HyperShell. And I'm stopping to wait for, I'm not saying, you can imagine how much further ahead of myself I would be, me with it and me without it. I'd be way back there. So now we're gonna go under the Green Man roundabout and onto Leighton Flats, and then soon we'll be under the shade of the trees. So I've not only got the HyperShell Pro X with me today on this walk through Epping Forest, I've got the classic E.N. Buxton, Edward North Buxton's Epping Forest. This edition is published in 1923. I think it was first published in 1884. And of course, Edward North Buxton was verderer of Epping Forest, the first verderer of Epping Forest, and was instrumental in the preservation of Epping Forest for the people of London. This is a really beautiful book that I take on all my Epping Forest walks with me. And it has these beautiful Stanford's maps in it. Joe's now wearing the HyperShell Pro X. Instantly he's completely enamoured with it. I've got to say, when you take it off you really feel the difference, because it's so easy to walk with it on. It's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just pulling you along really nicely. You really feel the amount of support and the kind of just the boost it's giving you. It just really does makes a big difference, makes a really big difference. And on a day-long walk like today, yeah, profound, actually, quite profound. So actually it's interesting here, they call this bit here the Hornbeam Trail, and we're just coming up to Snaresbrook Road. We're going to walk across Gilbert Slade, which this will probably be the only time of the year when it isn't an absolute swamp. And then I'll check the map, but basically you just push on there, past the Waterworks roundabout and through Walthamstow Forest. And we're having lunch at the, what I always call the hunting lodge, but at the pub hotel at Chingford. So you can use an app to help control the device, and it gives you the battery life, how much battery you've used, the mode. You can control the modes here. So it's currently in eco mode, and then you can put it into hyper mode. You see there, it's now in hyper mode, the red buttons. Now I'll turn it into transparent mode, like that. That's often where it goes. Eco mode, which maximizes the battery life. But what I'm using actually is what they call this adaptive motion recognition. So it adjusts to the way you're walking, it seems. So it'll change the mode depending on the circumstances. I think that's correct. And it's doing an incredibly good job of that. You don't need the app. You can just control it by pressing the buttons there like that. So you don't need the app at all. It's great, and you can feel it. It just clicks. There's a really lovely kind of haptic feedback when you change modes and when it clicks into gear. It's such a delightful thing to use. Onwards to Chingford. Come on, Joe. Under the Waterworks roundabout now. It might seem like a strange thing to say, but this is actually one of my favourite parts of this walk, crossing the North Circular, and that view north I find really beguiling and romantic almost, actually. I've obviously done an awful lot of walks in Epping Forest. There are an awful lot of Epping Forest videos on this channel. It's the first time I've ever done this one, the Centenary Walk, end to end. And in some ways, this is almost, you could say, the ultimate Epping Forest walk, because you take in the whole thing. And certainly there's not really a lot of variation you could do in the part up to Chingford, up to the hunting lodge. From there, obviously, there are lots of options, and that's why there are 30 videos at least on my channel of Epping Forest walks. But if you were thinking, I don't know what to do, but you want to do an Epping Forest walk and you're not really sure what to do, you could just do either this whole Centenary Walk or a section of it as a way to start. Otherwise, what I recommend to people when they ask me is I often say the classic is Loughton Camp to Amesbury Banks, which is quite short, long enough but quite short, and it connects the tube stations Loughton and Fladen Boys. That's the beautiful Manor Park Lake, a real marker on this walk and a real refuge in the sun. Gate 142, Chingford Lane North. Heading now for Whitehall Plain and a much anticipated cold drink somewhere at the hunting lodge. Now we go across Whitehall Plain. This is a great old tree here. This is a classic gate, Gate 116, Rangers Road North. And this will take us to the hunting lodge. The majestic Queen Elizabeth's hunting lodge up there. Actually Henry VIII's hunting lodge, and the upper floors were open, and that's where he would stand and watch the hunt taking place on Chingford Plain below. Presumably those bushes wouldn't have been there. And it's where we will have refreshments, very late lunch, in the place next door, the Royal Forest. So we've had a great lunch. And now it's time to push on into the beautiful evening light for the final section from the hunting lodge here to Epping. So the nature of the Epping Forest Walk changes quite a bit. At this point here we go across Chingford Plain and then we go into the main rump of the forest as we take on the long ride all the way through up towards Loughton Camp and Amesbury Banks, the ancient heart of the old forest of Epping. It is great doing this walk with Joe, but also this is the walk me and Joe used to do a lot when Joe was little, and we'd get the tube to Loughton and then come up from Loughton, pick up the green ride just along here basically, and walk down to the hunting lodge and get Joe some crisps and a drink in the hunting lodge. We'd often do that in sunset, so this is a really nice memory. Nice bit of nostalgia for us both. Where is he? There he is, back there. It's funny because I think the last time I walked this way it was in a January, and it was all frozen solid and white. And here I am in the height of summer. Gate 82, up and down ride crossroads. I think we're still on the Centenary Walk. Either way, we're on the walk that goes right through Epping Forest through to Epping Station, which is where it ends. Going up hills is a real test of the benefit of this, because at this stage of the walk, this hill will be really challenging. Really, you need that little bit of extra boost, like the bloke going down here on his bike. Some great examples of lopping here with these trees. Lopping was one of the ancient rites of the commoners of Epping Forest. It leaves its mark on the trees here, where the branches were cut on St Martin's Eve. We're now going through Little Monk Wood, and interestingly the Centenary path doesn't actually go via Loughton Camp, which is an odd choice, but it does go through Amesbury Banks. I'll link below to the videos I've made in Epping Forest, the cover, Amesbury Banks, Loughton Camp, the history of that area. Fascinating, fascinating history. Today it's just about doing the Centenary Walk and crossing this obstacle here. A fallen tree, always a thing in Epping Forest. I mean, you'll notice from the shot the path isn't particularly evident, so I am using the app, or an app to navigate here. But so we're going in the right direction. Yeah, this is the path we were looking for, so we got there in the end. It's just coming up to 7 o'clock, and we started today at midday, but obviously we stopped for an hour for lunch. Filming time takes a bit of time, so we're in the last 45 minutes to an hour now. And we've done about 14 miles now. This is where I'm feeling the benefit of the exoskeleton, because I'd normally be fairly tired at this stage. It's actually pretty fresh, so that's great. Still obviously need some refreshment at the end. A long walk on a hot day, all that. It feels like you could write an epic mythology set in those tree roots, doesn't it? Whole worlds exist inside there. It's not far to go now. Just down through Furze Ground up to Amesbury Banks and then the last stretch to Epping. And now the path leads us through Copley Plain. I love the names of the parts of Epping Forest. So I'm excited about this next section of the forest, because up here we encounter the ancient earthwork of Amesbury Banks. So just through here is the ancient earthwork of Amesbury Banks. I love this. Brought Joe here when he was about 6. Come on, Joe. Amesbury Banks dates from at least the Iron Age. I'll put the proper dates on the screen. But it's part of a sequence with Amesbury Banks here, Loughton Camp, and then there's a Neolithic trackway cutting through the forest. It's astonishing, astonishing place. And there's something incredible about bringing this bit of futuristic tech to this ancient earthwork, this meeting of the old and the new in the landscape. I love this place, it's so powerful. What I love is the way that the trees kind of create a roof, giving it a kind of cathedral-like aspect. It just increases its sense of majesty. It's just amazing. And at this stage of a walk on a really hot day, I said to Joe, like, having this is almost as good as having a cold pint at this stage of a walk, when you know, it's hot, it's long, we've been walking 7 hours, and now it's just powering me into the homeward stretch. Of course, Joe, on the other hand, doesn't have a HyperShell Pro X. So, you know, I have to feel for Joe. I can't just...
No need to rub it in.
I just can't bomb off into the distance, as much as I am tempted to. I'll let Joe wear it for this little bit into Epping. We finally emerge from Epping Forest out onto Bell Common, and it's been a revelation walking with this. It really has. The difference between walking with it and walking without it is quite profound, and I think this is going to be the future of walking. I think you're going to see a lot of people using these in different situations, lots of different situations, whether it's for leisure or whether it's in a kind of more professional context. Certainly someone does a lot of filming. I imagine you've got a day out filming. This is going to be a huge help to you. But I think everyday use, the additional energy it gives you is huge. We and Joe have found it today walking together, one of us wearing it and one of us not, and then when you take it off, man, you really notice the difference. So now we're just going to go through the back streets of Epping in the dying light to Epping Station. Well, thank you for joining us on that magnificent walk along the Centenary Walk through Epping Forest. Thank you so much to HyperShell for sponsoring this video and giving us that fantastic experience. I'm not sure Joe would have come for a walk with me today if we weren't using the HyperShell, so that made it special having Joe.
It was a draw if I'm being honest.
It was always a draw, wasn't it? It was very clearly a draw. So that was amazing, what a great experience. Yeah, there'll be some links below for you to find out more about the HyperShell. Yeah, magnificent experience. I think we've witnessed a future, it's part of the future of walking and part of the future of mobility. So, as I always like to say, I look forward to seeing you in the next walk, wherever that may be. And yes, the new river is coming up, and thanks to Joe. And you know, say in the comments whether you want to see more of Joe in the videos, eh?
No need, guys, no need.
It's over the meadow, over the stream. It's where I am going and where I have been. It's been a long day now, it's time for a beer. And now for home, of course I must steer. It's over the meadow, over the stream. I hope you are pleased with what you have seen. How's that?